What's up, guys, and welcome back to Stereotherapy. I'm your host, Lisa, and of course, I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Justine. If it's your first time here, Stereotherapy is a podcast that showcases the importance of music and mental health, and we invite guests to share their own story of how music has made a positive impact in their lives and also talk about their own experiences and their mental health journey. If you like what you are hearing, remember to share, like, and subscribe to wherever you get your podcast. It really helps us out a lot. I know you hear it often, but it would really mean a lot to Justine and I if you hit that little subscribe button on anywhere where you listen to podcasts, or you can do that also at our website at www.stereotherapypod.com. You can also listen to the podcast there. We have the latest episode will be there and all the episodes down below as well. If that's your thing too, you can read our podcast blog, check out some other cool stuff we have over there. We are going to be continuing our celebrating the albums turning 20 this year. There are so many important records that came out in 2003, and I can't wait to dive back in with some new records. But before we do that, if you are a new listener or subscriber, due to the wonderful Anthony Green making a post about our podcast, welcome and thank you so much for checking it out. And I just want to say too, and I know Justine will too, because we are just so overwhelmed and so thankful to Anthony for doing that, because it's not been easy being a new podcast, and it definitely was just such a win in my eyes for women talking music, because whether you've been in the scene for a while like Justine and I, or you're brand new, it's often not easy, and especially talking about the music we are. So to have somebody on that platform of that size say, hey, this is really cool, I can't describe that feeling, and I just hope it motivates any other women, men, like anybody out there that has an idea to put it out there. And no matter how many people tell you it's silly, or, it won't go anywhere and you can't do it, you can. And just, I want to thank him so much for that, because it means the world.
Yeah, literally that morning, I had messaged Lisa, have you seen this post yet? And I was like, literally, like freaking out, cheering in my living room. And my boyfriend's like, what are you doing? And I was like, Anthony Green just plugged the podcast. And he's like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. And it's just like what Lisa touched on. It is because going into this podcast, both me and Lisa talked about how it's going to be being two females, talking about music, let alone, the alternative scenes.
Mhm.
And let me tell you how validating that was to, old high school me
Yeah.
who wore a Ramon shirt in front of her first boyfriend. And he goes, name 5 songs. And I
Oh
named
God.
10. I named 10. And his mom was just like, oh, burn. And it's just, this is a great outlet, we hope, for other females in the business, and again, like, or any gender.
Yes.
um
Yes.
but it was just amazing. We're both still just like in awe that happened, so thank you so much, Anthony. We love you so much.
Yeah. And it's like, It it is. It is just such a validating thing, because for anyone listening to this too, I tried the first round years ago and it was not a safe place. So many people, and I'm sure even when I had to relaunch this, we're like, oh, look at it, she can't do it. She can't do it. And you know, I it just is such a special feeling. And again, I can just encourage you, and I hope it inspires people to just keep doing your art, your DIY, whatever it is, and put it out there, because you
Yeah.
never know who is watching, and you never know who will enjoy it. And to anybody that's a new listener or subscriber, thank you so much. It means so much that you're checking this out. And I hope you find something special, and I hope you feel less alone, whether it's your mental health journey or less alone in thinking, if someone thinks you're a little weird for liking a certain artist, you're not.
Yeah.
You're you,
Yeah.
and
No.
that's amazing. So,
Yeah.
so we just wanted to touch on that before we dived in because it's been such a special couple days here. So, and I mean, I don't know how I can segue into this, but my first album, again, that we're gonna be doing, I think one more episode for sure, but like the 20-year records that meant a lot. We covered some previously, so you can go check out that episode as well. But we are gonna dive back in, and I am going with a very different choice than my choices last time when I look back. I'm going Ocean Avenue, Yellowcard. Um, and this record just means so much to me. And I know so many people, you know, feel that same way, but I have a huge heart for Ryan Key. When we talk about people also being there and letting people have a chance, back in 2011, when I had no business reaching out to Yellowcard or any band, I had this mini little blog, and uh, I wanted to interview Yellowcard. I really loved them, and I loved what they were doing, and I just really put myself out there. And I remember emailing Ryan Key, and he emailed me back, and I remember being like, "Whoa!" And he agreed to do an interview with me, and I couldn't believe that. And still to this day, I look back on that and appreciate artists like Yellowcard that gave people so many chances, and they continue to be like that, to what I see. I haven't seen them in so long, but I just had to start this with this record by saying that and to show how kind this band is. And I I am sure that I'm gonna have that fuzzy feeling when, warm and fuzzy feeling when I see them at their 20-year tour they're doing this summer, and I can't wait for that. And anyone that's going to the Stone Pony Summer Stage, I will be there. So definitely say hi. But okay, back to the album. I know I rambled a little bit. But I remember like I was already a fan of Yellowcard, with their Underdog EP, and October Nights being one of my favorites I found on Pure Volume. If anyone's not aware, that was like a cool site, and you could literally type any band and you would have a couple songs, and it was a really cool site to have to find artists. And then to this day, I know I found so many of my favorites from that site. And I remember also hearing Way Away on a music video for MTV2. And, MTV2 was one of those things, like, they played all, like, the emo or alternative era bands, and I remember being like, "I know Yellowcard, okay," but Way Away was just I still remember that music video where Ryan Key's in the classroom, and there's a big storm, and just the sound of it, I loved it so much. And what I appreciate about this record, much like Cursive in the previous episode, is that I love the aspect of how different Yellowcard really sounded in the mix, and of all these pop punk bands out there, but they had like the violin of Sean Macon. And I think that was really, really cool. And whether you were a pop punk kid, a Hollister shopper, or you heard Ocean Avenue played there, or someone that just, didn't even like this record, it was everywhere and you could not escape this record. And I feel like you still can't, which is pretty awesome 20 years later. And I think it really truly put Yellowcard on people's radar. From Breathing, Miles Apart, Inside Out, Believe, to the quieter tracks that really set Yellowcard apart from everyone else, from Only One, View from Heaven, 1 year, 6 months. Like I could, again, much like the other records, I could sit here and just rattle them all off. But anytime I go back and listen to this record, I am just left with feeling like summer at Warped Tour with my friends. And it truly just made me fall in love with Yellowcard. And to this day, I hate how so many people fell off from this band because they were truly so good after this record. And I just don't think people gave it a chance because it wasn't Ocean Avenue. And I think you see that a lot with bands when people like it. They're like, oh, well, I liked it, but it's not this. But Lights and Sounds, Paper Walls, and When You're Through with Thinking, Say Yes, those records were so good. And I urge anyone, go back to those because they really, really were so good. And Yellowcard is just a truly important band during this era. And I think that's why so many people, especially at this past Riot Fest in Chicago showed up, knew every single word to this record, and all these years later still do. And I truly think Yellow Card really shaped that kind of music poppy, like as much as like on the last episode I talked about a little different bands, but Yellow Card just hit. And I still, like I said, I still get that warm fuzzy feeling like, oh my God, Yellow Card forever. But Jesse, did you have any kind of, I guess, memories or anything about this record?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Someone I had gone to school with actually burned me a copy of Ocean Avenue. They thought I would like it, and it's just so fun. Like you said, like, it reminds you of summertime. Like,
Mhm.
it's so fun and so upbeat, and, like, I don't know how you could hear Ocean Avenue and not immediately just, like, wanna start singing and just, like, getting into it because it's just so fun.
Mhm. It is. It's so much fun, and, like, I just want the windows down, and it's like I know here in Jersey, it's gonna be really rainy, so that's not gonna happen after this episode, but I might have to. But I gotta say, what is your first record of this episode gonna be?
So, my first record is the Distillers' Coral Thing.
Yes!
This is such an important band in my life. This album came out the same year after Brody had divorced Tim Armstrong. So I'm pretty sure that a lot of what was going on is definitely in this album.
Mhm.
I was absolutely just in love with her in every way possible, and I still am.
Yes.
She shows you that you can be both beautiful, but also just a really tough badass. Like, she is the reason I desperately wanted to get a true big mohawk.
Mhm.
Um, she has an amazing, raw, gritty voice, which I always made jokes that I really wish like I was a smoker so that I could somehow be able to have those vocals, which
Yeah.
sadly I am a soprano, so unfortunately it's not in my cards. She was one reason I really wanted to learn to play the guitar, which I managed to have had a few lessons, but I was just not successful. This is still an album that I put on when I just really need to scream along with the vocals.
Mhm.
I have a real attachment in particular to the song "The Gallow is God." Um, I always wanted to get a tattoo for it, like, since I was in high school and I didn't have tattoos yet, like, yeah, that's how in depth I can sometimes think about things like tattoos. But funny enough, I, like, haven't thought about that memory until I was prepping for this, and I was like, "Oh my god, I really need to get that done soon."
Yeah, yes.
You know? It, like, sparked a memory, and I think it would make a really cool tattoo. So,
Mhm.
uh funny enough too, when I got this album, I got it from Walmart, and if you're not aware, Walmart is, or at least they used to, I'm not sure if they are anymore, really good about, censoring
Yes.
album art. Like, I haven't bought an album from Walmart in forever, so I don't know if
Right.
they still do that, but this original album art had a naked woman on a cross with blood just shooting out her side, and unfortunately for me, my album art was animals on an ark, which is like, it's so strange because it's like, it's not really this, like, I guess it's kind of still biblical, but like, it's just, I missed out on the good album art.
That's, you know what, that's crazy to think of because I always knew of Walmart with the CDs, they would have this censored, like, instead of like parental advisory, you could buy like
Yeah.
the censored one where it wouldn't have the swear words in it. And I don't remember that cover thing. And now I'm
Yeah.
like, I
Yeah.
need to go look because I have all my CDs still. So I need to
So
go back
you
and,
should go back and check like your old
look.
albums and see because it's so funny because it's like you really had to have had something pretty offensive on the cover for them to change the entire album cover, but on the inside, I'm pretty sure is still the same artwork, like the actual disc itself has like the same artwork type from the actual cover, because the original album cover is like black and white, and the only thing that's color is the blood. And I remember because the inside the disc has black and white like art on it too, and I was like, that's really weird. They only changed the front cover of it, but yeah,
And
gotta love Walmart.
like, and what's so weird is I love this record too. I love Brody. I saw her do a solo show in Chicago and I waited in hopes of meeting her because I feel this like she's just up there, her and Karen O and Shirley Manson. But like Brody is everything. And I think I loved her vocals. I loved all that. And um just her just being her and showing that because like for me, it was the high school I went to, liking punk or liking music like that, but it just was like, wow, you can look like she does, like, you don't
Yeah.
need to look any other way, and, like, that's when, like, Abercrombie and Hollister was so
Oh
big at my
gosh.
school,
Yeah.
and
Oh
that
yeah.
just wasn't my vibe. If that was your vibe, that's cool, but, like, she just made it seem like you could, and I wanted instead of the mohawk, I wanted, like, a lip piercing. I wanted a lip
Oh, I
piercing.
she's the reason why I wanted lip piercing, and
Yeah,
I obviously have changed my mind since then because
same.
I knew enough people that got like snake bites that told me how miserable it was to like have to
Yes.
like eat soup and stuff.
Mhm.
But I was like, not for me. So that's not for me. Tattoos, yes.
Yeah.
Piercings, it's not my thing.
But it's crazy even describing this record. I have looked at this record so many times. Even today, it came on, like, 'cause I just love the Distillers, and it came on my shuffle and all that. I never realized it was The Cross. Like, I never
Yeah.
realized that. I don't know
Yeah.
why. And I've looked at this record a million times probably in my life and, like, listened to it. Now I need to, like, go
Yeah.
back and look and be like, "Wow, that no wonder, like, maybe when I posted it on, like, Instagram, I'm listening to it or whatever." Like, I don't know, maybe people are like, "Wow." Like, I need to go look at this now because I can't believe, like and people are gonna probably listen to this and be like, "Oh, is she really a fan?" Like, no, I love the Distillers, but I don't know if
Oh,
I ever caught on to that.
and it's one of those things too, I dissect everything, okay?
Mhm.
So, like, especially a visual, I get really weird into it, and, like, a little off topic, but, like, my boyfriend loves taking me anywhere that has a lot of things,
Mhm.
like, heavily decorated, or, like, I was raised going to, like, antique shops, so, like, I will sit in a place like that for just, like, hours because I have to dissect every little thing that I see. So, like, I could see how that could probably be, not as noticeable. But yeah,
Yeah, but wow, I'm looking at it now and
yeah,
yeah, oh, wow, alright, well but that's wild, but no, that is such a good record, and anyone needs to check out The Distillers because Brody is an icon, and I love her, and she's just she still is just so amazing, and her
yes,
solo stuff, like, I forget what it is, like, I know it's Brody Dale or Brody and not the Renegade. I gotta look at it and tag it, and someone probably, again, is listening to this, like, but, like, sh when I saw her, it was a solo, thing that she was doing, and it
yeah.
was even that was so good, like, she's just so good, and I love
She's just
her.
so talented. Like, ugh, I adore her so
Yeah,
much.
I will be tagging anything Distillers and Brody in the description for sure of this because you especially as a girl, I mean, anyone, but
Yeah.
especially if you're
It
into that music, it does make you feel like, wow, you have a place.
Yes, it's very empowering as a female. Like, if you get somebody that's so talented and just not only just in the words, but the look and the sound,
Mhm.
um, it it's very good to hear, coming from a female standpoint and getting that, when you're so used to hearing like poppy things. And
Yeah.
pop is what's represented mostly for like females. And it's like, well, not everybody's poppy. So
No, and she's so beautiful too. I
oh, she's
mean, man,
gorgeous.
like, oh my god, like, I can't.
Ugh,
Girl crush
don't even
forever.
get me started on
Yeah.
that because I could go on for that for
Yeah.
hours.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure, and that's what was so sad is that at that solo show, when I waited out to try and meet her, she was sick, I guess, so, like, she just went right to her bus, and I remember just thinking like, I had no idea she was sick. Like she performed so good. I would never have known. And I think about like when I'm sick, I would never have been able to do that. And she just killed it. So yes, I love to Brody forever and the Distillers. And I have to say too, so before I go into this next record that I'm going to pick, I just want to say I myself am a sexual assault survivor. I know Justine as well. Stand with victims for forever and always will. But I'm gonna go with the record Deja Entendu by Brand New. And I'm aware of the allegations against Jessie Lacey. And I, again, truly stand by any survivor forever and always. And I am so glad that so many were able to speak out and have their platform. I am just going to talk about this record and how it truly impacted music as I knew it in 2003. I owe a lot to this record. If I didn't find this record, I would not be engaged to my fiance. But I understand if this is a triggering thing to anyone, and you can feel free to skip over this. Maybe I'll even put that in the description because I understand that. And I just am going to talk about the music because, again, I'm talking about the record. But that aside, I loved Your Favorite Weapon. And I actually found Brand New thanks to Good Charlotte. They were my little gateway. And I found Brand New
Shout out,
because
GC.
yeah, GC again. All right. Joel Benji Madden was in their video for Jude Law and The Semester Abroad. And I remember I'm not ashamed of like saying that. That's how I found them. But when Deja came out, it was the summer and I knew I loved Brand New, and I immediately went out to Sam Goody or FYE. For the kids that are unfamiliar, those were CD stores, and we had them in our malls, and most big malls you had them. And do they still exist? If they do, somebody let me know. Either way, I went home and I put it on, and it just didn't hit the same way. But I immediately tossed it to the side because I was like, it's just not for me. It's a little too mature. It's not really for me. And I know someone out there is listening to this and they're like, oh, see, you're not a real fan. And oh, see, and but it just didn't hit the same. And I felt it was just too mature for my taste at that given point in my life. And which is odd because in the previous episode, I gushed about loving Cursive, and someone would say, wasn't that mature sounding? And yeah, it was. I don't know. It was just Cursive and they're incredible. But I was watching MTV2 yet again. Here we are. And I saw the video for Quiet Things That No One Ever Knows. And it just literally was like, what is this? And I'm like, hey, I've got that record somewhere. Let me go to my CD tower and like go get the Astronaut, which that iconic cover is always there. And this is going to sound like the most, again, as everyone's saying these days, emo thing ever. But it was raining outside on a Saturday night and I was at home. So just picture this. You're on the floor. You're like maybe 17. And I was making closet curtains with all my favorite bands and their lyrics. I had Dashboard, The Early November, Brand New, of course. And I need to try and really dig up a picture of this because it really was something to behold. But I sat there and I put Deja back on, and that was it. My mind was blown, and Brand New were in such a class of their own and so many different sounds. And it really made me just love Brand New. It completely grabbed me like no other album during that year, from Boy Who Blocked His Own Shot, which I have a tattoo for that, which led me to finding my fiance on a Brand New fan club Instagram page. So again, forever, like had I not listened to this record, had I not liked that song, had I not said, oh, I want to get a tattoo for this, I would not be where I'm at in one of the most loving, amazing, incredible relationships ever. And I think it's so fitting that I met him through music, but that those songs, and I mean, then you got Jaws theme, Swimming, Guarnica, Play Crack the Sky. And I could really, again, go on about this. And I think that's something to note about when we talk about these records, that you could just go on and on about these records. And these songs truly, he became the soundtrack to my life and the reason I traveled so many states and met the most incredible people. And again, met the love of my life. Um, and I ended up being able to meet Jesse Lacey years back in 2009 at a Borders Books. And I was able to express how much Brand New meant to me and how much changed my life. And, you know, half of my friends are due to loving this band and absolutely this album's era. And I got to see them before they became really massive and you couldn't get tickets. And I'm so glad for that. And again, that's not a brag, but that's like, wow, this time was so crazy. And this record changed so much again for me musically and what I gravitated towards after hearing it. I was digging in for so many other different sounds because of this record and really just wanting to find things that made me feel something. And Deja to this day is one of my all-time favorites. And I know it can be controversial these days. And I 100% get it if you are on any side. And again, I stand with any victim. Um, but without this record, I would have not made it out of that lonely time in high school when all I had was my Discman and Brand New and other artists in my ears. And I loved how this record, they went from this pop punk band to a band that was going to evolve with each and every release and had the ability to pull new people in and keep a lot of the same. And forever thankful for this record and the comfort that has brought my life when I literally felt like I had no one else. But when I would talk to people about this record, I had other people. And again, it's such an incredible record in my life. So I just wanted to talk about it and hope people can understand that too. I don't mean to disrespect anybody, but Justine, what is your second album?
Funny you should ask that. Because it's also Deja.
Oh, all right.
Oh. And as Lisa has stressed, we very much stand with all survivors. As she said, like, we both have been there, and like, we absolutely understand if you would need to skip ahead or anything about that. And it by no means says anything at all that we condone anything that had happened.
Mhm.
We just both have an immense tie to this band and this album. Um, so just always know, like, victim of not even victims, because not victims, survivors come
Yes.
first.
Yes. Survive. That's so, I love that because it's so true. They're,
Yeah.
oh, I love that.
So me and Lisa had actually talked about this before, and it's really funny and weird, but I also didn't like this album when it first came out. It's just,
People are going to be the haters in the
I
comments. Like,
like, let them, okay?
yeah.
Like, I honestly feel like it's more hipster to be like, I loved every single thing that's ever
Mhm.
come out
That
the
is true.
first
Yeah.
time it comes out, and
Yeah.
it's yeah. There's got to be times where you're not gonna like it as much, and this is one of those that it definitely had to sit for a while. And I've had that happen with a lot of albums, by the way, like, because I am very much somebody that has to listen quite a bit before I'm like, oh yeah, I
Mhm.
do like this. So, but I was extremely attached to Your Favorite Weapon. um I even have a tattoo, which is the jellyfish on my forearm, and it says, I've seen more spine and jellyfish.
That's so crazy because I think, I don't know if we even talked about this, but that's what G has. And that's when I met
Yeah.
him. Oh, that's so crazy. Oh
No,
my God.
we totally talked about that,
Yeah.
which is hilarious. It's like, obviously, like, we were bound to have our paths cross again
Right.
with
Yeah. Look
this.
at
Like,
that.
I
There,
have an
God.
owl with you, and I have a
Yeah.
jellyfish with
There we
G.
go.
So Um, but yeah, that album reminds me of car rides with friends.
Mhm.
Screaming along with that album at the top of my lungs. Um, and like you had said, the first album was more pop punky.
Mhm.
And in true autistic fashion, I am less likely to jump on something that's changed. So, as somebody gave me this album, Burned, again, listen, you're going to hear this a lot because let me tell you, all of you that are young, this is how people dated and made friends in the early
Yes.
2000s. We would burn CDs for each other. So
Yeah.
you're probably going to hear me say that all the time, but that's how I got an album. But um I don't think I really listened super well until after like the music videos came out. Um the songs are great, but for me, Sick Transit has always been my favorite. Um, and I know how lame and boring it comes off liking the single. Um, but I'll always be truthful, even if it's embarrassing. Okay, guys, like that's something you can count on. And I tend to gravitate towards songs that are either loud or upbeat. Um, so anything that can like pump me up because again, as somebody, who deals with depression sometimes, I am not in the mood to cry. So
Mhm.
will kind of skip over the sad ones a lot, which isn't
Yeah.
always true because, there's certain sad ones I'll listen to. But so I like things that are really loud and very upbeat or very just very, make you real pumped. And I have been able to see them live quite a few times. Um, the only member I met was Vinny, which I remember because I have a signed ticket from him somewhere. Um, and that show, he climbed up onto the rafters of the ceiling and played from up there. I was like blown away.
Yeah, no, he was always one that was just, oh my God,
Yeah,
so
like
fun to watch. Like he's who I watched.
yeah, absolutely. And it's just like they always really put on an amazing live show. And I know for me, and I know this is like true for a lot of people when it comes to music, I personally am super grateful and glad that I have memories of this band before my ex.
Mhm.
Because I know a lot of us deal with that a lot where there's a band that'll be completely off put after you leave somebody, right?
Mhm.
Because it
Yes.
reminds you of them. And I'm so glad that I had this band in my life before that because that would have been like a struggle. But
Mhm.
also, they gave me a happy, carefree memory from high school, which there wasn't a lot of. I really struggled in high school. So, like, that for me is why this album and just this band's music is like a core memory. Um, and again, it's obviously hard for some people who, after everything that came out,
Mhm.
and if you can't listen to that music now, that's completely understandable and that's super valid. But I think it's important to still mention like what good this did, because like
Right.
there are still good memories just tied to the music alone. Like, you know,
And
delete gross men from your memory, right? But like
yeah.
there's still these memories that we can still be thankful for that happened before, like even knowing more so. You know what I mean?
No, and it was something I struggled with personally when
Yeah.
everything came out, the allegations, because, I had some people that were like, "Oh, but you have a tattoo of them. Are you gonna get that covered up?" Or, and, a lot of things. And I think it's one of those things that I really did struggle with for a long time, and
Yeah. I
especially
think a lot of us have.
yeah, and, like, as a survivor too, it was like, well, am I validating that if I'm
Yes.
listening and felt guilty? And I really had to say, you know, well, obviously not condoning that, like we said, but
Yeah.
I'm not, I also know that I would not be. who I am in my life right now, my God,
Yeah.
without this record. And I was at my lowest point sometimes listening and clinging to this record and this
Yeah.
band. And I think of that and
Yes.
I think of that and I think if people can understand why some think of that, and then again, not condoning it, but saying like,
Yeah.
because I know it was a big struggle. I don't know for a lot of people, but for me, it was
Yeah.
very big and it was very like, what do you do? And I think it's hard because you hear allegations all the time and it's people want your immediate reaction to it though too. Like,
Yeah.
"Oh, what are you gonna do? What do you think? What do you think?" And it's like sometimes you need to sit and think and I think that they were a band to also just make such an impact on so many people that I know
Yeah.
personally, and I also wouldn't know it without. Like, I met people that traveled from New York to Chicago to see them play and wait 10
Yeah.
hours with me, and I love those people to death, so it's like that was so special, but, I mean, this record, it just was a massive record, and to this day, people love the hell out of it, and I totally understand why. Like, I get
Yeah.
it because 'cause I'm
I
one of
think
those people.
oh, no, and I think that's something too to talk about too. It's like, it was a lot, like, especially for us as, survivors and
Mhm.
being female, like,
Yeah.
having a band that means so much to you and then this comes out, like, it is extremely hurtful, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
And because it's something that, hit us both so hard, like, it was such an important band. So, when it did come down to it, you would feel hypocritical if you
Mhm.
were going to still like this band. And I do every once in a while see online people still talking about like, well, great, now I have these tattoos
Yeah.
and whatnot. And I and that makes me so hurtful, well, makes me hurt for people that like have that
Mhm.
reminder on their arm
Yeah.
and and it's having trouble to like move on for that. And for me, as somebody that, music is a big deal for me. So it's not like I can just delete music from my
Mhm.
memory.
Yes.
Um, music for me is connected to not only feelings, but to memories, because my memory is really severely impacted from not only my PTSD, but my autism causes memory loss as well. So when I have music that is connected to memories or feelings, it's not as easy for me to just let it go. And it's makes it really hurts my feelings when I see people that think that that's like hypocritical or terrible and like why can't you just move on? Like I hate and I will use the word hate. I hate what this man did. I
Mhm.
hate that this ended up tarnishing, what has been a wonderful band for so many of us,
Yeah.
but like I can't delete it,
Mhm. Yeah.
and I completely am like, if you are able to do that,
Mhm.
man, I wish you would give me your give me your hints on
Yeah.
how to do things like that because I can't. Um, but again, if this is a band that for you, you cannot get over, you cannot listen to anymore, you are justified and you're valid.
I love how you put that too, because I think for so many people, their question is with this band, why do you still listen? And
Yeah.
I think or how could you, right? And I think it you just put it so perfect. I can't even follow up with anything. But like I love that. And I think again, like this record and I think so many people will understand and feel the same because I know so many
Yeah.
people listening to this like that felt that way. Like this brand new was you could not escape them and they only became more massive and crazy. Like I can't
Yeah.
even put into that. But that and again, yeah, but it's but we'll bring it up a notch with this next one. We'll
Yeah.
bring the mood up a little
Let's
bit.
get some we're lighting this up a little
Yeah, we're gonna
bit.
lighten up because this next record is one of my all-time favorites, and I'm gonna go I mean, I don't know if I could be like, "Oh, who's gonna guess it?" But there's nobody in the room with us, but Alkaline Alkaline Trio, Good Morning. And anyone that knows me knows my love for Trio runs deep. And I mean deep. Uh, Obviously, I was a fan before this record, but this record really made me fall in love with Alkaline Trio. Uh, and we have to also talk about why it sounds so different with the vocals, a little bit of Matt Skiba too, because honestly, it was due to him blowing out his voice while they were recording. And while it was being repaired, but Matt was saying, you know, he likes the way his voice sounds on this record. And I have to say, I do too. Like, I love that raspy Matt Skiba voice. And again, like, I love all their other records, but there's something I don't know if that's why I also love this one so much, because I just love that. And um I do. I love it so much. And although I'm sure it was really painful for him, it added something to this record. I should say that. But, we also had Derek Grant join uh, behind the drums on this release too. And I know Alkaline Trio has been on the record saying that without Derek, there might not have been a trio. There might not have been an Alkaline Trio. I just keep calling them Trio, by the way, everybody. Like,
I think we all know.
it's just
It's okay.
habit. But this record is so full of no skips and truly just an incredible record that I feel somewhere on the fence about when it came out, but I think so many later came around to it, and I loved how different Alkaline Trio was, and they are still in the game. They are recording right now, and I cannot wait for that. And in the era of so many pop punk artists, again, you had your Yellowcard, you had your Newfound Glory, you had trying to think everybody around or Blink, they were around, some 41, all those, but you had Alkaline Trio along those sides of those bands, and they just really stood out. And whether it was someone thinking that they that they worship the devil, yes, many times, people even look at me like, "How are you listening to this record? They worship the devil." Or people thought that they were morbid. But for me, it just really made me again, all those things, I was still in love with this band. I did not care, and I was so lucky enough to see them play the iconic Fireside Bowl in Chicago that so many of your favorite bands probably played. I know AFI was one of them. I mean, early on, and it is just insane to think about that place. The Fireside Bowl is forever just so much history in that place. And I I loved From Here to Infirmary and God Damn It, but this record will just always be my favorite. And I got so lucky to attend those album shows they did. Oh, I can't think of what in the world were they called. Oh, Past Lives. It was the Past Lives tour. And they did the where they did 4 nights and they did all their records. So, and you didn't know either. Like, you didn't know what you were going into either. Like, every night you would go and then you would, or maybe they would do it a little before, whatever it was. You already had your tickets. So it was like you didn't know if you were getting Good Morning, if you were getting From Here to Infirmary, you're getting, I almost said Cringe. No, I mean, God damn it. But if you didn't know what you were getting, and I got so lucky that I bought like the first 2, maybe the first 3 or whatever I did, but I won tickets to the last. So I got to go to all of them, and it truly was so special. And they did God Damn It, or God Damn It. Now I'm talking God Damn It. They did Good Morning. We're talking about Good Morning here, everybody. Good Morning. And they did Crimson together, which was so fitting for those 2 records together. And it was just such a highlight. Like, it was just so from like, We've Had Enough to This Could Be Love, Blue in the Face, Donner Party, Continental, All on Black. Let me just name the whole damn record at this point, because I'm just gonna, again, I think that's what we can just say about these records when Justine and I talk about them. You can literally sit there and say, like, this song, like, that's how much they mean to us. I know so many others feel the same way. And I truly love this record, and it just meant so much to me because, again, I got into exploring other music, um, that I wasn't always maybe really listening to, and I loved the writing on this record. And I have to also talk about how amazing Dan, Matt, and Derek are, because truly, yet again, meeting them over the years in Chicago and their impact on Chicago has meant so much. I remember being at like Pick Me Up Cafe in Chicago, which was an amazing, incredible vegan, vegetarian, and non-vegetarian cafe, and down from Metro. I think they moved since. But it was like the place to go after a show at Metro. And I remember being there and seeing Alkaline Trio was recording This Addiction, and they went in like late night. I was there late night too. And I remember like seeing them walk by, and I didn't want to bother them because I was like, I don't do that for bands. I never did that. And years later, I won tickets to a Q101 radio show. And I remember telling Matt Skiba, like, I'm really excited to, meet you. And I always looked up to you, especially being from Chicago and music, and just how proud I always was of how they were always so proud about where they came from. He stops me mid thing and was like, ask me my name, signs my quote. I have this quote. I have this book. Maybe I'll post it too, where it's all about like how he made his life the way it is. And he did this. He orchestrated this. And I always loved that quote. And he signs my quote. And he was always saying, like, always say hello. If you see me out, say hello. It is okay. And I just thought that was so cool. And I'll never forget though, and this is how I'm going to sound so ridiculous, but I was so nervous in that moment. So I said my name was Alisa instead of Lisa. So to this day, when I would run into him at other shows, he would call me Alisa. And I never corrected him. I never did, because I was like, how can I now? Like, and what's even crazier is like I ended up forming acquaintances with Derek, who is one of the nicest, kindest people. I can't even go into about Derek Grant. If you know him, and I know in his own mental health journey, and he has gone through so much with his bipolar diagnosis. And I know that sometimes prevents him from playing with Trio, and he is always missed. But Derek is one of those people that any show I went to, he remembered me, my name, gotten me into shows when I couldn't get tickets. And when my stepdad passed away, he sent condolences to my family. And when I went through one of the roughest breakups ever, and just like I talked about in Circa's episode, how Circa got me through that, so did Alkaline Trio. And I couldn't get a ticket to this show that was around the breakup time. And Derek put me on the guest list for the show. And I wasn't just guest list. I was VIP, which was like, I didn't even ask for that. I didn't even want that. And I didn't even ask to be guest list. And I always appreciated that they were just all about the fans, always. And I can't gush enough. And so many people have just been impacted by Alkaline Trio. And it's insane how long they've been a band. And like I said, they're recording again. And I know all these times I felt alone in life, or in a scene that was surrounded by boys and men, not letting girls have their place. Alkaline Trio always was a safe show or place, and I'll always be thankful for that. And now that I'm removed from Chicago, anytime I see them here in New Jersey, or I see them anywhere, it's that home feeling. And I'm like, oh, like same with Rise Against, when they come around, or even Fall Out Boy, those Chicago bands. But there's something so special about Alkaline Trio and how they've always just been themselves no matter what. And I appreciate that so much. And I cannot gush about Good Mourning enough. If you do not know this record, please go listen to it and report back to us, because I love this record so damn much. It is always in rotation in my ears. I love this record. And Justine, what is your last record of today?
Surprise. It's Good Mourning.
Oh, I love it though. I'll talk more Alkaline Trio. Let's go.
Alkaline has always been one of my comfort bands. And it's so funny that you brought up the whole devil worshipping thing, because that was one reason why I was obsessed with it.
Or I will let you go ahead, but later I'll say about them, but go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. It's no surprise, I feel like, as anybody that knows me, that I'm a goth girl, and I have been a goth girl since high school. So, and
Mhm.
that's the label that I've always worn, like, proudly. So, if any of the bands I'm gonna love from the emo pop punk scene, it would have to be types like this that are into dark and macabre things and looks. And I honestly feel that, like, me and Matt could be like best friends because I love his Insta posts.
Oh my god, yeah,
Anytime he
same,
posts on Instagram, I get
same.
so excited.
Yep. No, same, and I feel the same way, like, when he posts about, like, Stephen King,
Yes,
like, any of that, I'm like, "Oh my god, let's go."
I know. I'm just like, I'm like, I really think we could be besties, man. I'm just saying. This album just makes me so happy. Like, it's fun, but it talks about heavy stuff. And as someone who makes jokes about her trauma,
Same.
they are perfectly on brand for me. Like, you have an upbeat song with lyrics like, "No one could even tell if I fell 100 stories down."
Oh my god,
And it just made me so happy, and it still does. This is one of those albums that I can't even pick a favorite song because I don't skip a single song.
mhm.
Um, and I've only seen them I've seen them twice. Once at Warp Tour and then at Riot Fest last year. And so when I got to see them at Warped, I got to do that meet and greet kind of thing with them.
Mhm.
And so somewhere I have a magazine, like, because they give out like magazines and whatnot at Warped Tour sometimes, and that
Yeah.
has all the signatures on it. Well, I remember I was so nervous and starstruck. I'm pretty sure all I got out was, "And I love you so much." And I wanted to be able to take a picture, but they weren't
Yeah.
allowing
Yeah,
pictures.
no, I know, they never did, I know, that happened to
I
me too.
I felt so embarrassed for even asking, like, "Oh god, I should have known the rules." Like, because it's like I was just so amazed by being able to see them in person,
Mhm.
and I was just so embarrassed for something so silly, but, like, yeah.
I mean, it could be
I
worse. You could have said your name's Alisa. I mean, you know what? It could have been a lot
I
worse.
mean, listen, the amount of times that people call me Justin, Lisa, like, this is why we get along so well because I would have done the same thing. I would have never corrected.
No, still to this
Yeah,
day.
Justin, close enough. It's fine. That's
Yep.
fine. You call me whatever you want.
Yep.
Okay. But they're just so incredible live. I really hope that I can see them sometime at a venue where they're headlining
Mhm.
because all I've seen is their festivals
Yeah.
stuff and like they already put on a great show even for like a festival, show, but like like I want to see them headline.
You have to, because
I
I
really do.
agree. Anyone that's have seen them at a Warped Tour or a festival, and again, that's amazing, but I tell people all the time, if even if it's
It's
not like
different.
the it's very
Yeah.
different, especially if you go to Chicago too, so
I feel like it's also like that for most bands in general. It's the atmosphere is different at a festival than it is at a headlining
Yeah.
venue. And I don't think maybe a lot of people do notice that, but like if you're not somebody that goes to shows very often and all you've done is gone to like a festival, you need to go to like a headlining show because it's completely different, especially if it's a band that you really adore. Um, but I always loved knowing that they were from Chicago,
Mhm.
because I always called Chicago my second home. I grew up 4 hours south, but my dad is from Lombard.
Oh my god,
So,
Lombard wasn't that far
yes.
from me.
Is that crazy?
Yeah.
Like, so, like, we visited family up north a lot, but also that's where I had to go see my neurologist for my seizures growing up. So, like, I would be up there a lot, and so I always felt like that was my second home. And I think that's another reason why this band is such a comfort band for me because it makes me think of Chicago. So,
Mhm.
like, it's like subconsciously, maybe they're also my home?
Yeah.
And like, they've always stuck with me, and I love and adore them. And seeing them at Riot Fest, though, this past year was It was so amazing because obviously when I went and saw them at Warped, it was in St. Louis, so
Hmm.
not the same effect, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Right.
different when you see a band in their home place, you
Hmm.
know? And, like, I don't think people really realize that so much unless they happen to know a band from a nearby city, you know? But, like, if you're able to see your favorite band in their home city, it's, like, 10 times better. Like, the crowd is always pumped, more so than an average show. Um, and it's just beautiful. Like, oh my gosh, when we saw them at Riot Fest, both me and Tim were so excited. We ended
Hmm.
up like we were both like, because me, you know, I'm a disabled woman. Being at Riot Fest was really rough for me this past year with all the walking and everything. But we were able to like kind of really push forward quite a bit. And I was fine. I did not get like hurt or anything in the crowd, which is my main first thought now going closer, you know, to a stage. And I was fine. It was so amazing. I was so happy, so full of joy. I have my boyfriend with me who also loves Alkaline
Hmm.
Trio.
See, you're
I would
lucky.
say I would say not as much as me.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be a lot for him to
Yeah.
love them as much as me, but, like
Yeah.
so, like, we're both just singing along with the music, and the crowd is great, and it was just a beautiful time. It was great. I just really need to see them, though, at the actual venue
Oh,
headline, so
yes. I'm telling you, like, the best thing was those past live shows I went to and attended. Like, I've seen them in very small places, but also very big, like, places like I think not UIC. I don't know. I gotta think back home in Chicago. If anyone's listening to this back home, try and help me out because I'm trying to remember. Maybe it was Aragon, but it was big. And the thing is, like they truly are, and I think it's also like how great of people I know them to be too. Like not only are they from
yeah.
Chicago, not only are they amazing to their fans, not only do they put out incredible music still all these years later. Like I can't wait for this new release, whatever it's going to come out, whenever,
Ugh,
whatever,
it's gonna be amazing.
and I'll never forget that like when I still have that book, I'm going to post that because having Matt Skiba's signature on that is kind of like in this journey of doing this podcast or music and just knowing like, wow, one of my favorite bands growing up, like supports their fans and what they want to do. I mean, much like
Yeah.
I'll just bring them up again, much like Anthony Green, much like
Yeah.
so many people that support you and you're like, okay, this is why I gravitate towards. And I know I'm the same way where no matter what, Alkaline Trio will always be home.
Yeah.
And I don't know many people. Like I know some people, but I don't know enough. Or I don't know like anybody here in New Jersey that likes Alkaline Trio. So it sucks when they play. I mean, I think
Oh, sad.
it's kind of like, oh, come on, they're really, really great. And I've gone alone. But I love them. Actually, and I take that back because he'll probably give me shit for that, but, like, my brother-in-law, Danny, does like Alkaline Trio, sorry. But so I do, but, I mean, I've gone, and it's like they're just at home, and it's just
Yeah.
so great to have a band like that that has the record, but, it is so funny about too, to bring up, like, the devil worshiping thing, like, about Alkaline Trio is that they came out and said, like, later, like, it was like a joke, right? That, like, I
Yeah.
forget somebody said like, "Oh, what if we just do," or whatever it was, like, "Why don't we just have these cards?" Or it was something like that, and then it just became a thing, but I know that they like the teachings and read the books of Anton LaVey too, so, like, I know that that's part of it, but they're just such stand-up people, um and again, I have a funny story about Derek Grant and how we kind of just got on a first name basis, like, but it was like it was like a chat thing he did with fans, whatever. And I was so taken back at that age that like a band was doing that and that a band would talk to their fans that way. And I remember after like he said goodbye or whatever it was, I screenshot the thing and I was so excited about it, and I thought I was screenshotting it and sending it to my friend. Apparently, I sent it back to him, um, and was like, "Oh my god, I talked to Alkaline Trio, like, the, drummer Derek Grant." And I remember him just being like, "Oh, it's okay." And when I met him again, he was just like, "Hey, Lisa." And I'll never forget that. And just like, oh God, he probably thinks, and anyone listening to the story is probably like, wow. But you got to think I was young at the time and I was excited and did that. And I'm willing to put myself out there for that story. But that is how on first name basis I became with Derek. And again, I am so proud and so just in awe of his bravery and his bipolar diagnosis. I know it's a hard, well, I don't know. I can see that it's a very hard thing, and I can't
Yeah.
imagine what he goes through. And I just applaud his bravery. And Derek, if somehow this is getting to you, I love you very much. And he has made an impact on me as well because he was always so kind. And I'll never forget, like I said, when my stepdad passed away and um that he reached out of a lot of people. And I just I love this band. I love Alkaline Trio, and I'm really excited. And I hope, I guess, just to wrap up these records, and this episode, uh, they're just so important. And there's so many more too. I think we're gonna do one more episode too. And I'm really thankful to have this platform to talk about these records. And if these records have changed you or shaped you or made an impact, please let us know. You can also, I should say, you can also find us on Instagram at stereo.therapy. You can give us a follow. I post what I can, or Justine wants to post, I'll post it to you. It's just under my account name. So like it is mostly me, but she will too.
I usually tell her if there's something I want
Yes.
her to put up. So
Yes. But please follow us there because like I'll post, we do weekly playlists. Um, and you can kind of get the teasers for the episodes too, which is really cool. And those are exciting now that I learned how to do that. So really proud of that. So check that out. And you can follow us. I'd love to get to know anyone that listens to this and supports this. And again, thank you so much for supporting this podcast, for supporting women talking music, and just being excited about music because I want to hear what your records impacted you. And I guess, um, Justine, did you have anything you wanted to say before we wrap this up?
um yeah, just another thanks for supporting women in the
Yeah.
music business.
Hmm.
um
Absolutely.
we really appreciate y'all, and um yeah, we will always try to put a great platform up for other women, because it's important, and I think it's really important in this time, you know, in day and era. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love it. I just love what we're doing here, and I can't wait for the next one. And again, speaking of that, if you didn't check out the previous one that's going to air before this, it's an interview I did with Cody Ritchie of Goalkeeper. Please go listen to that one if you haven't. If you're just listening to this one, he's another person that supported and came on when nobody else wanted to come on. And Goalkeeper is amazing. I'm just going to toss that in there again if you have not listened to that one that's going to air because he's amazing too. And I have to
Yes.
applaud that too. And any guy that is willing to do that and be awesome, yes, we applaud everybody. But yeah, you guys will hear us every Tuesday and we will see you very soon, and we will actually see you next Tuesday. If you are listening to this when it airs, or whatever day you're listening to this, you will see us the next Tuesday. But we will see you guys next Tuesday, and we will see you soon.
Bye.
Bye, guys.